We are monitoring 4 storms over the next week, all leading up to Christmas Day. Will any of them impact your holiday travel plans? We have all the information you need to know next at the Weather Farm. Welcome to the Weather Farm. I'm meteorologist Christopher Hale, and we have 4 weather systems that we are monitoring before Christmas Day, all of them that could provide impact to your holiday travel plans. Whether you're traveling by car or by air, we have the information you need to know here next at the Weather Farm. So we're going to dive right into it. And the first map we're going to talk about is the amount of moisture that is going to be present in the United States over the next week. So this is precipitable water. This tells the amount of moisture that's available in the air. If we were to compress the moisture out and squeeze every drop out, how much precipitation would fall? Where we see these browns, that's dry Arctic air, less than a few hundredths of an inch. But we see that impacting the eastern half of the United States as we go into this upcoming weekend. Out across the Atlantic, we have a huge plume of moisture making its way near Iceland into northern Europe. But as we get closer to Christmas Eve, another plume of moisture streams north from the Gulf into the Ohio Valley. This is going to provide those rain showers and a few isolated snow showers in the northeast. But as we get into the New Year's Day, we see another continued and an even larger push of moisture up towards Hudson Bay, even towards Greenland. This is very indicative that there will be warm air across the eastern half of the United States, stretching all the way up into Canada and Greenland as we close out 2025. We got a question about atmospheric rivers, and I think this map does a great job of telling us what they are. So we see this constant plume of moisture making its way onto the west coast. This is an atmospheric river. It's what we talk about. And as we look day after day, we see streams of moisture coming across the Pacific and dumping rain along different parts of the western part of the United States and even into British Columbia. This pattern we expect to continue as we make our way. Here's another one coming onshore at Christmas Day. This will provide travel impacts all up and down the west coast for our Christmas Day. Let's take a look at our weather map for our Wednesday. We have an area of low pressure centered around Memphis, Tennessee as we begin. We have thunderstorms and heavy rain spreading from Arkansas through Tennessee into Kentucky. On the north side of this system, where there's enough cold air filtering in advance of the first of 2 Arctic fronts, we could see a little mixture with snow across parts of northern Ohio. Out west, we have one of those atmospheric rivers making its way onshore, dumping heavy amounts of rain, heavy mountain snows as we get into the northern parts of Washington and Idaho and Montana and southern British Columbia. This will form into a clipper system that's going to dive across the northern plains as we begin to our Thursday. In terms of precipitation for our Wednesday, we're going to see a wide swath of 1 to 2 inches from Little Rock through Memphis to Nashville, through Lexington, Kentucky, and into West Virginia. To the north of that, we're going to see about a ½ an inch along the Ohio River, and we're going to see heavy rains also stretching down into Mississippi and Alabama. All of this moisture is going to continue to move east for our Thursday. In terms of the precipitation out west, we're going to see over here in Washington State excess of 4 to 6 inches highlighted by the yellows, and the oranges could be greater than 6-inch rainfall amounts, but a general 3 to 5 inches along the Oregon and Washington coast. A little bit less as you move further inland. So we get further inland in those higher elevations, this is going to fall in the form of snow. So where we see an inch of precipitation here, we're going to see 1 to 2 feet of snow for our Wednesday into our Thursday morning. Let's take a look at our map now for our Thursday morning. That system that made its way onshore on Wednesday is now making its way across the northern plains and diving south and east along the Arctic front and the trough that's digging in the east. It's going to spread heavy snow from North Dakota into Minnesota, into Wisconsin and northern Iowa. The thing about this particular system is we have seen over the last several days, each model run has consistently strengthened this low pressure system. So it's going to be something we're going to continue to watch as we move into our Thursday and as it continues to make its way down into the Ohio Valley. Earlier in the week, we thought that this system would fizzle out by the time it got to Iowa. There are now signs that we could see snowfall making its way all the way into Indiana, which could impact the college playoff game in South Bend Friday night. So that's something we're going to continue to monitor here at the Weather Farm. In terms of snowfall, as we go Wednesday into our Thursday morning, we are going to see the heaviest snows across parts of southern Saskatchewan, where we're going to see widespread 6 to 10 inch snowfall amounts. As we make our way into northwestern North Dakota, 8 to 12 inches are likely. And as we make our way further south and east across parts of southeastern North Dakota, northeastern South Dakota, and parts of Minnesota, 4 to 7 inches seem likely at this point. There is going to be a sharp cutoff of the snow line. So we look back at this map, we see this low pressure system. That 540 line is right here. So we have warmer weather just to the south of this low pressure. So we're not going to see much snow in Nebraska, southwestern Iowa, or into Missouri. As that system makes its way across the upper Great Lakes, we're going to see a sharp cutoff for that snowfall. And so that's why we see, as it makes its way into Iowa, we don't see much snow as we make our way into Thursday. However, by the time we get to Friday and that system continues to make its way into Illinois, we're going to get some wraparound cold air that is going to spread some heavier snows across far northeastern Iowa into the tune of 4 to 8 inches. Chicago, you could be looking at a couple inches. We could even see 2 to 4 inches near South Bend. We could even see snow as far south as Indianapolis by the time we wake up on our Friday morning. So let's put our maps into motion. Here's that heavy rain on our Wednesday making its way east. Here's that developing Clipper system bringing that heavy snow across the upper plains into the Ohio Valley as we go into Thursday, into Friday. Out west, we continue to see atmospheric rivers impact that area. But the area I want to focus on is we have a developing low off the coast of North Carolina. That's going to stay far enough offshore, but we're going to talk about a bomb cyclone that is going to hit the Canadian Maritimes for our Saturday. Out west, we continue to have more rain, more snow for those higher elevations, while the east is under the impact of that Arctic high pressure, cold temperatures. But by the time we get into our Monday, we start to see a return flow of warmer air as another Clipper system makes its way through the Great Lakes. This system will fizzle out and we'll have a new low pressure system take form on our Christmas Eve. For our Christmas Eve, we will have widespread rain from Texas through Indiana. Snow will be on parts of Ohio into Pennsylvania as we make our way into Christmas Day. That snow will spread into the Northeast on our Christmas Day. As I mentioned, we are going to have a low pressure system that's going to make its way off the coast from North Carolina, and it's going to rapidly intensify as it makes its way through the North Atlantic, impacting Nova Scotia and Newfoundland for our Saturday. This will be a bomb cyclone as the pressure will drop more than 24 millibars in a 24-hour period. This system is going to spread heavy snow to Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, and Labrador, and the far eastern parts of Quebec. By the time it is all over, we could see widespread 20 to 40 centimeters of snow for Nova Scotia, widespread 40 to 60 centimeters of snow for Newfoundland, and as we get into the far eastern parts of Quebec, 20 to 30 centimeters of snow will be likely with this system. Behind it, we'll have lesser amounts, 5 to 15 centimeters of snow by the time we wake up on our Sunday morning. As we look at our Christmas Day morning forecast, we have an area of low pressure off the coast of southern Louisiana that's going to spread heavy rain up through Mississippi into Tennessee. That's all going to move east. Out in the Northeast, we're going to have light snow from Pennsylvania into New York, into Connecticut. And out west, we're going to have mountain snows, parts of Idaho into Montana near Yellowstone, stretching down into Utah, and then also into southern British Columbia. Temperatures, though, for our Christmas morning are going to be rather warm. If we look out east, we're going to see widespread 40s all the way up to near Detroit, 50s across the lower Ohio Valley, 60s and 70s along the Gulf Coast. We're going to have the real cold spot in northern Maine where we can see temperatures in the teens. But even out west, we see widespread 30s and 40s, except in those mountainous regions where we can see temperatures in the teens and 20s. The real cold air is going to be stuck up in Quebec where we would see sub-zero temperatures as we wake up on Christmas morning. As we wake up for our New Year's Eve, we're going to have a significant line of storms, and we're going to have to watch this one because this one could be severe and spawn a few tornadoes. It's still very early, but we are going to watch this, so pay attention if you are going to be traveling for your New Year's Eve. We will have heavy rain from Brownsville all the way up to Louisiana, into Evansville, to Columbus, Ohio, stretching all the way back to Pittsburgh. To the north of that, through Toronto and parts of Quebec, we're going to see some significant snow amounts for our New Year's Eve. Out west, we're going to have heavy rain for the Seattle area. British Columbia, you're going to see heavy mountainous snows to the tune of 2 to 3 feet. Temperatures are going to be extremely warm for our New Year's Eve morning. We're going to have widespread 60s and 70s that are going to make their way all the way up into Indiana and Ohio. Even parts of Michigan, you could be in the 50s to start your New Year's Eve. That warmth is going to spread east. Pittsburgh, you could be near 60 to start New Year's Eve. The real cool spots are going to be far northern Maine and the Intermountain West, where we're going to see temperatures there in single digits or even below zero in those highest elevations, but widespread teens and 20s across the rest of the West. And why is this happening? Why are we seeing such extremely warm temperatures? Well, part of it is that precipitable water map that we looked at the very beginning. We're going to see large amounts of moisture in the eastern half of the United States. That's going to allow warm air to be present over the eastern half as we close out 2024. But I want to look at this map. This is the Climate Forecast Systems map. They put out these weekly outlooks that take the mean or the average of the temperatures or the precipitation or whatever variable they're measuring. This is our favorite 500 millibar anomaly map. So each of these week maps is a different week. So this isn't one particular day, but is an entire average of the week. So this is where we are right now in week 1, from December 17th through December 23rd. And this is the United States here. We have Greenland here. Alaska's up here. So we have a widespread area, a ridge across most of the United States. And we've seen that with above normal temperatures. Now, yes, we will see some cold air for the eastern half of the United States this coming weekend, but the average is going to have a height anomaly where we've been warmer than normal for this week. As we move into week 2, so this is Christmas towards the new year. And we saw that on our temperature map and the way the precipitable water map is. We're going to see that ridge of high pressure and warmer temperatures move into the eastern half of the United States. We saw on the temperature map for New Year's Eve cold temperatures in the west. That's due to this trough that's just off the Gulf of Alaska. So that's going to allow colder air to spill into the western half of the United States as we go from Christmas Day into New Year's Eve. If we look at week 3, taking us into the first week of the new year, we see that that ridging returns across most of the United States into Canada. So we're going to see above normal temperatures for this first week of January. But we have an area of low pressure, a trough here. We also have one just north of Hudson Bay, a trough. We start to see that ridge building between the two of them. And so what's going to happen is it's going to spread and separate these two troughs from one another. This is where the cold air likes to reside, up north of the Arctic Circle. So that ridge is going to build and it's going to split it apart. And by the time we get to the 4th week, January 7th through the 13th, somewhere in that week, we're going to see that a lobe of that Arctic air spill into the eastern half of the United States. This looks to be very similar to what we saw from Thanksgiving into the first week of December. This is something we're going to watch. What's going to help is we're going to have a ridging into the Gulf of Alaska, which is going to spread warmer than normal temperatures into Alaska. and we're going to have ridging over northern Europe. And so between those two, it's going to allow, as the warm air pushes north, it's going to dislodge the cold air and allow it to dive south into the eastern half of the United States. So this is yet another signal that we have that the pattern is going to change by the time we get into the first part of January. So for those of you that think that winter is over, I don't think it's over by any measure. There's still a lot of time and a lot of indicators that January could turn very cold. And if we were to get into a tap into the subtropical jet and bring some moisture streams into the Ohio Valley or the Great Lakes, we could see some significant snows for the eastern half of the United States into the Northeast as we begin that second week of January. Granted, this is still 30 days out from now. A lot can change, but continue to check back here at the Weather Farm for the latest information on the ever-changing weather pattern. We hope you've enjoyed your time here at the Weather Farm. Hey, let us know where you are watching us from. Drop your location or drop your favorite city that you want to hear more about the weather. We had somebody let us know that they want to know about the weather in Alaska. It's been a while since we've talked about that weather. So drop that down there in the comments, and we'll try to feature that on an upcoming video. Hope you have a wonderful day. We hope to see you again soon here at the Weather Farm.